Let's dive into Brew's training so we can stay nice and consistent when we get home. When we get home, we give him a command and he listens. We're going to make sure we are pet praising or rewarding him to let him know he's doing a great job. This is going to help us build a positive reward history. A positive reward history is a positive association with doing an action. The more positive he sees these actions as, the more often and the more likely he's going to just give us these good actions. If we give him a command and he ignores us, we are going to make sure that we are following through using his training equipment. Dogs learn in photos, so we have about 1.3 seconds to either pet, praise, or reward him for the wanted behavior, or to follow through with the training equipment for the unwanted behavior. Let's go over his commands. His first command is going to be heel. Heel means to walk politely next to us on the left-hand side with a nice loose leash. When he's doing this, again, we are going to pet, praise, and reward him to let him know he's doing a great job. If by chance he gets a bit excited or distracted, pulls to the left or pulls ahead of us, we are going to make sure that we are following through using his training equipment. So what's his training equipment and how are we going to use it to follow through? The first item in his training equipment is going to be his remote collar. So both the remote and the collar have these little red circles on them. We're going to touch those together and a green light is going to flash to indicate that the collar is in fact on. To turn the collar back off, same thing, touch those circles together and a red light is going to flash to indicate that the collar is off. To turn on your remote, there is a large button in the back. We're going to press and hold that down until the screen turns on. Once that screen's on, we now know our remote is on. To turn it off, same thing. That large button in the back, press and hold that down until the screen turns off. When the screen is off, our remote is now off. When using this to follow through, we are going to make sure that we are verbally marking the unwanted behavior. So we are going to tell him no. We are then going to tap the black S button. That is our follow through button. So we're going to tap that button and then we are going to remind him of what it is we're wanting him to do, which in this situation is heel. So he's doing great, gets a little distracted, pulls ahead, no, heel. The next item in his training equipment is going to be his prong collar. So when using the prong collar, we're going to attach his leash to the spinning D-ring. We are going to make sure that this collar is not big enough to slide on and off over his head. We're going to make sure that we are taking it apart at the links. To do this, we're going to allow the links to hang parallel. We are then going to press one link down the prongs of the other. Then we are going to put it around him and we're going to squeeze the links back together and place them through the little hoops. It is all about technique, not strength. When he is wearing this, this is to sit very high up on his neck, directly under his jawbone, and we are going to make sure that the chain is on the back of his neck, just behind his ears. Just like with the remote collar, we are going to mark the unwanted behavior with the verbal word no. We are then going to do a slight pop and release, and then remind him of what it is we're wanting him to do, which again in this situation is heel. So he's doing great, gets excited, pulls ahead, no, heel. His next command is going to be sit. Sit is a short-term duration stay that was demonstrated with door manners. So we're going to heel him up to the door. We're going to tell him to sit. When he sits, we're going to give him a reward, and then we're going to remind him to sit, and then we will open the door. If he stays in that sit, we are then going to tell him heel and exit through the door together. If by chance he stands up when we open that door, we're going to re-put him in a sit. We are not going to reward him. We're going to close the door and we are going to do that activity again. Once he is able to stay sitting when you open that door and until you tell him to heel through it with you, then we are going to reward him and proceed through the door. His next command is going to be down. Down is a long-term duration stay and was demonstrated with down in the lobby. So again, we're going to heel him to where we want him. We're going to tell him down. Once he lays down, we're going to tell him good down, and then we're going to reward him with the treat as closely to the ground as possible. So if we're inside, we can drop that treat directly in front of him on the ground. But if we are outside in a rocky, pebbly, or muddy area, we're going to leave that treat on our hand and place our hand up against the ground for him to take. The reason we are leaving the treat on our hand or dropping it directly in front of him is because we don't want him to pop up, and dogs follow their noses. So if we go to hand him the treat, there's a large possibility that he might try to meet our hand and end up going into a sit or going into a stand. His next command is going to be place. Place is a long-term barrier stay. I recommend using this when people come over, when cooking, when cleaning, when eating, or if he's just a bit overly excited, we just want him to hang out with us. So when it comes to place, we are going to tell him place. He's going to get up on his place bed. When he does so, we are going to reward him by dropping the treats onto the place bed. We are not going to hand him the treats. The reason that we are dropping the treat onto the bed is so that he believes that the bed is what is producing those treats, and it's going to help him create a very strong positive reward history with that place bed. Now, there are a few rules when it comes to place. There's no vocalization, so there's no barking and there is no whining. There's also no chewing on the lead if it is on him, and there is no chewing on the place bed. He can have toys, he can have treats, but there's no chewing on the place bed and there's no vocalization. So if his toy falls off of that bed, he is not to get off to get that toy. We need to get it. We need to go get it and give it back to him. So think of him kind of as a mime. We're putting him in a box and only we are able to open that door. So when we are done with him being on place, we're going to walk back to him and then free him. We are not going to free him from a distance. Again, this is a great command to use when cooking, when cleaning, when people come over, or if he's just being a bit overly excited. His next command is going to be come when called, which is going to be our recall. When working on this, I recommend having him on a 30 to 50 foot long lead. We are going to have him in a free, which means he has the freedom to sniff, explore, go potty, run around, and be crazy. Once he gets distracted, we're going to use a loud, firm tone, and we're going to tell him, come. Once he turns and starts coming to us, we are going to take a few steps back to invite him into our space. While we are taking those steps back, we are going to praise him his whole way to us. We're going to tell him, yes, Brew, good job, good boy. We are going to pump him up and get him excited so he wants to run to us. Once he gets to us, we're going to place him into a sit. We are then going to reward him, and then we are going to free him again and do the activity again. If he is too distracted when we tell him to come, we are then going to use that long lead to reel him in. Once he starts coming to us after the reel in, we are still going to take a few steps back, we're still going to praise him on his way to us, and we're still going to place him in a sit and reward him when he gets to us. The reason we are still rewarding him is because the follow-through happened farther away from us, and we want a very strong positive reward history when it comes to come when called. We want him very excited to come to us. His next command is going to be leave it. When working on leave it, I do recommend using dog-safe food, such as hot dogs. We're going to drop the food on the ground. We're going to tell him to leave it. When he leaves it, we will give him a reward. And then we can either tell him okay, so that he goes and grabs that food off the ground, or we will not tell him okay, and we will pick the food back up off of the ground. So that is all of Brew's commands. Let's see them in action. Down. Good boy. Here's a hot dog. I dropped it. Good boy. Down. Good boy. Down. Yeah. Good boy. Down. Good boy. Down. Good boy. Down. Good boy. Good down. Heel. Yay! Good brew. Good job. let's go ahead and go over Brew's remote collar. So both the remote and the collar have these little red circles on them. We're going to touch them together and a green light is going to flash to indicate the collar is on. To turn the collar back off, same thing. Touch those circles together. Red light is going to flash to indicate that the collar is now off. To turn your remote on, there's that large button in the back. We're going to press and hold that down until the screen turns on. Once the screen's on, we now know our remote is on. To turn the remote back off, same thing, that button in the back. We're going to press and hold that down until our screen turns off. Once that screen's off, we now know that the remote is off. When using this with Brew, we're going to focus on the black S button. That is our follow-through button. He's currently at a level 30. Level 30 has been the level which has been necessary here at the facility for the amount of excitement he has been receiving. Now, this level could be too high or it could be too low when you get home. How are you going to know? So if you are constantly having to use this black S button, that means your level is not high enough for his excitement at home. And then we are going to increase it by increments of 5. Now, if you're barely having to use that black S button, and when you do use it, he yelps or there's a large flinch, that means our level is too high for the amount of excitement he is receiving at home, and we are going to decrease his level by increments of 5. To do so, we are going to use the knob up top. Right now his level is locked in. We know this because the 1D is solid. So to unlock the level, we're going to press and hold the knob down until that 1D is flashing. As you saw, the level did change. This is because the knob is very sensitive, so I'm going to get it back to the level he needs to be at. To lock that level in, we're going to press and hold the knob down until that 1D is solid. Once the 1D is solid, we now know his level's locked in. So, there's also this red S button. This red S button is going to be our emergency button. It has never been used with him here at the facility. Again, it is for emergencies only. So level 30, again, tops out at the amount of excitement he has received here at the facility. But if by chance he gets very excited and distracted and is chasing a squirrel or a ball across a road, that's going to be when we use that red S button because it is an emergency, and level 30 only tops out here. When he is as excited as he would be chasing a ball across a road, his excitement would be up here, and we need that added boost to get his attention and to get him to stop chasing that. Again, it has never been used here at the facility. So there's also this black T button. This black T button is going to be a vibrate button. This can be used farther down the road in his training as a warning for him, but right now I do not recommend using it. I recommend sticking with that black S button for consistency. Again, farther down the road, this could be used for him. So there's also this MC button. This MC button was used at the very beginning of his training. It changes the buttons on the side from momentary to continuous. This was used at an extremely low level at the beginning of his training to help us build a positive reward history with the collar so that there was no fear behind it. Again, it is no longer necessary to use in his training. Then we have that big button that we know if we press and hold is going to turn on and off the remote. But if we just tap it, it's going to turn a strobe light on his collar. If we tap it again, that light is going to stay on. If we tap it again, it's going to turn that light off. So we did leave him on his original collar, which is quite long. We did not cut it due to the fact that he is a puppy and he is continuing to grow. Now online, possibly on Amazon, you could possibly find another collar for him with a quick release, with a quick snap, but we do not carry one small enough for him here at the facility. Again, you may be able to find one on Amazon, and they'll have a nice little bungee on there, so there's just a little bit more give to the collar also. In the box is the extra prongs for his prong collar because, again, he is a puppy and he's growing, so you may need to increase the size of his prong collar eventually down the road. There's also a nice little 2-bay charger so that we can charge the remote and the collar at the same time. And then there is the shorter little prongs for him and the tool to change them. So if you decide, the longer prongs for him. So if you decide to let his hair grow out, I would change out the prongs. That way they still can make connection through the hair to his skin. Underneath the tray is going to be the manual. So if by chance you forget how to increase or decrease his level, you do have the manual to assist. So If the green light that flashes periodically on the remote changes color to red or to orange, that's going to indicate that we do need to charge the remote and to charge the collar. When charging these, I do recommend just leaving it on the charger for an hour or two and not charging overnight, because a lot like your phone, if we overcharge them, it can actually damage the battery and then it won't last as long. His collar is to go on first thing in the morning and come off last thing at night. So it's going to be worn about 12 to 14 hours. We are going to make sure that we are turning off the remote and the collar when we take it off. If we do that, the charge will last about 48 hours, about 2 days before we do need to recharge that. So that is everything that has to do with his remote collar. Remember to stay consistent and have fun.